Yo, it's JP. I'm going to talk about defamation per se again. And that is because defamation per se is the single most powerful claim that you can ever bring in the American legal system. Full stop. Full stop. Defamation per se is the strongest claim you can ever bring. So let's start with defining defamation and then defining defamation per se. As most people know, defamation involves the following elements. One, a false statement of fact. It can't be an opinion. It has to be a statement of fact. A false statement of fact that is published, meaning it is either published in writing to third parties or it is spoken out loud in the presence of third parties. But that is the basic framework for defamation. A false statement of fact that is published. Now, a lot of folks don't understand the broad ramifications for that. They think about defamation purely from an outdated worldview, where they think of things like published in a newspaper or published in a magazine or a news article or a news broadcast. But that is not what the law requires. The law merely requires publication. And publication can be posted on social media, said to your colleagues, said to your customers or vendors or folks in the marketplace. You see what's happening here, right? Law is an old-timey circle jerk, and the powers that be in the American power structure, they want to take these tools, they want to take these claims, and they want to try and cordon them off and box them into the old-timey world that no longer exists. And what I'm trying to do is I'm trying to take them and apply them at large to the world that we currently inhabit. For whatever reason, a lot of people think that a lot of people don't understand the First Amendment, right? You get all these people, and it's hilarious. It works both ways. It's on all sides, but my favorite are, you get these right-wing MAGA types who show up and they're like, well, I got fired for saying some racist shit, but I got a First Amendment right. It's like, bro, the First Amendment applies versus the government, okay? Not your private sector. You don't have a private sector employee right to a freedom of speech. Shut your fucking mouth, homie. Go home. But you get all these clowns that don't understand what the rights are, okay, and how the Constitution works. And so you get people that go on social media, they go on Facebook, they go on Twitter, they go on LinkedIn, they go wherever, and they just run their fucking mouth. For whatever reason, society has lost its shit, and there are so many people out there who think that they have a right to go online and just pop off at the mouth and say whatever shit they want. True, false, indifferent, whatever. They just think that's their right. That is not your right. That is not your right. And so that's where we get into a lot of modern defamation cases that arise from online, social media, negative reviews, etc. I'm about to sue somebody myself. I'm about to sue somebody who called our office, we rejected them, and then they left me a negative review saying we ghosted them. We didn't ghost you, homie. We rejected you, and we're allowed to, and you can't give me a negative review for rejecting you. I mean, actually you can, but then you got consequences, okay? I think a lot of people's parents didn't spend any time teaching them about freedom and consequences. Like, yes, you have the freedom to do some stupid shit, but then you will have to deal with the consequences. So that's defamation. We see so much defamation today in all these different environments. Now, what is the difference between defamation, regular defamation, and per se defamation? Okay? Per se, this is where you get into Moneyball jackpot. Okay? Moneyball jackpot, per se defamation. Okay? If somebody defames you, so you have to meet all those same elements as regular defamation, but they do it in a way that, one, this is the big one I'm always looking for, because we do a lot of employment work. We do a lot of plaintiff side discrimination cases. We do a lot of non-compete and trade secret defense work. Okay? So what am I driving at? Some people know statements that are false and that are inherently harmful to your trade, profession, or business reputation. Okay? I've talked about it before. I'm going to talk about it again because it is so significant. The best cases I see, the best cases that we take are almost invariably defamation per se cases. They are cases where either somebody left a company and they went to a competitor, or they started their own business. The old company gets scared, and in an effort to thwart regular fair competition, the old company starts running a smear campaign accusing the former employee, officer, executive, etc. of stealing trade secrets, embezzlement, stealing money, stealing equipment, etc. I've heard everything. I've heard everything. Yeah, he embezzled $10 million. The FBI is getting involved. You don't want to do business with him, right? So stupid and short-sighted and completely actionable. Completely actionable. Meaning you can bring a lawsuit over it. Meaning in certain jurisdictions that recognize per se defamation and presumed damages, we'll get into that. That is the money ball of all money balls. Okay? That's the big category I'm looking for. Another big category is you accuse somebody of a crime that rises to the level of a felony. Okay? There are other categories. I'm not as interested in the other categories, right? You accuse a married woman of having an affair. Okay? Yeah, that's defamation per se. But you see that less than I see the cases arising out of the employment context with false claims or allegations against the employee. Okay? So that is defamation per se. Why is per se so significant, so unique, so valuable? Well, in a number of jurisdictions that recognize defamation per se as a cause of action, they allow you to recover presumed damages. Presumed damages. Let's talk about the linkage there between the per se and the presumed. Per se means it's inherently harmful. It's presumed to be inherently harmful to your reputation, meaning the plaintiff is relieved of the obligation or the burden of proving their damages. And a jury in many jurisdictions that go this way, including Florida, this is the best claim you can ever bring in the state of Florida. Forget about discrimination, forget about retaliation, forget about whistleblower, forget about any of that, okay? Defamation per se. Because the jury literally gets instructed that if they find for the plaintiff, if they find for you, they are to award whatever dollar amount they consider reasonable to compensate you for your losses, your harm, your embarrassment, your humiliation, your dignity, your shame, your mental anguish, and the list goes on and on. But it doesn't stop there. It doesn't stop there. In some jurisdictions, including Florida, again, Florida's brilliant on this particular claim. Not only can you get presumed damages, you can also get punitive damages. Punitive damages are not intended to compensate you. The Presumed damages are part of compensatory damages. They are to compensate you. They are to make you whole for the loss or damage you suffered. Punitive damages are intended to punish the defendant for their wrongdoing. They're intended to punish and deter, and the money gets paid to you. In Florida, as in a number of other jurisdictions, if you have a defamation per se claim, you can also seek punitive damages. Unlike in many other types of cases, let's take discrimination, right? Florida courts are incredibly aggressive about policing compensatory damage awards in discrimination cases. I've written about this, I've lectured about this extensively. It's a cultural thing, it's historical. Florida is the old Confederacy. There are still vestiges of all this. Labor is not valued. Discrimination is not viewed as a bad thing, by and large, among large swaths of the population. So it's a cultural thing. There is a cultural animosity towards discrimination claims and compensatory damages in discrimination cases in the state of Florida. But that does not exist in defamation. In fact, to the contrary, the case law in Florida regarding defamation and defamation per se goes back more than 100 years and is incredibly plaintiff friendly. The bottom line on those cases, we're talking Longwood v. Sadow and that whole line that goes back 100 years. If you fuck with the person's reputation, and particularly with their professional reputation in the state of Florida, you are in deep shit. And a jury can tag you for presumed damages in the millions of dollars. And then they can add on punitive damages in the millions or tens of millions of dollars. That is a real thing. That is a real thing. Right now, we are working on a 50-state survey and mapping out other jurisdictions that are highly favorable to plaintiffs in defamation and defamation per se cases. So keep up with us and check back in periodically. I should have that list published, shared, released in the next 2 weeks. And what we're going to do is we're going to keep getting these cases in Florida, but then any other jurisdiction where defamation per se law is very plaintiff friendly, we're just going to go into those jurisdictions, start getting these cases and pouring all the time and resources into them, because people don't understand. Like, I'm like a dog with a bone. You show me one of these cases I like, I don't care if it takes me 2 or 3 years. I don't care if you throw everything you've got, right? You throw it all at the wall and you hit me with everything you got in your arsenal. That's fine. You can run, but you can't hide. I'm going to get you today, or I'm going to get you tomorrow. As soon as you come out your crib, I'm going to be right by your side. It's JP. Happy weekend.